you everybody for being here in this weather today. All right. We will have a 45-minute ceremony with presenters, and we're going to start that off right now with Color Guard present colors.
Forward. March. Color Guard. Oh.
At this time, we will bring the Boy Scouts up, and we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Colors. Ready. Cut.
At this point, I'd like to bring up Pastor Chuck Arnold to deliver the invocation.
What a wonderful day. It's a little chilly. 17,000 blankets put on the graves. 17,000. You're honoring the men and women who served diligently and now at their final resting place. So let us close our eyes and bow our heads and just thank God for this day. Lord God, we are so excited to be here today to honor the men and women who have given so much to this great land and now are in eternal rest. Lord, thank you for today. Thank you for the many, many hundreds, maybe thousands of volunteers that came out today to honor those that are here. Lord, we are so blessed to live in this great nation. Let us never forget that we have the peace we have, and the joys we have, and the freedoms we have because of the men and women that are here today. Lord, I thank you for the men and women that are serving today all over the world. We pray for them, that during this holiday Christmas season, Hanukkah season, that you will continue to guide and bless them. And Lord, for all of us here today, Lord, thank you for the families. Thank you for what will happen in the next week or so as we celebrate Christmas. Lord, we are so blessed. And we thank thee and praise thee in thy precious and holy name. Amen.
Amen. At this point, I would like to bring up the administrator for the Washington Crossing National Cemetery, Rich McNulty.
Good morning, and welcome to Washington Crossing National Cemetery. On behalf of the National Cemetery Administration, Department of Veterans Affairs, I'd like to thank the Wreath Across America Committee, today's guest speakers, and all those that contributed to make this event possible. Really do appreciate it, and thank you.
Our first guest speaker is Master Sergeant David Pearl of U.S. States Air Force retired. David served in the United States Air Force for 21 years. Retired at the rank of Master Sergeant. David served in many operations, including Libya bombing, Operation Desert Storm, Desert Shield, Enduring Freedom, and the Iraqi Freedom. David has served in many foreign countries, including Albania, Turkey, Spain, Azores, Italy, and the United Kingdom. David is a member and an officer in several veteran organizations: the Army Navy Union, the American Legion Riders, the Delaware Valley Vietnam Veterans, and the Cooties. David is a life member of the Veterans of Foreign Wars. David's most valued award is the Legion of Honor from the Chapel of Four Chaplains in Philadelphia. Please welcome Master Sergeant David Pearl.
Thank you. Such a nice welcome there. And I want to absolutely thank everybody for coming out on this bright sunny afternoon. See, when I wrote this speech, well, when I wrote it for the 5th time, yesterday after I got home, really nice the last 2 days. We were out here in t-shirts unloading wreaths.
Yes, we did.
So, what did you do? What happened? What did you do to my sunshine? Anyway, so I really want to thank everybody for coming. And bear with me. I didn't think I was going to have to hold this and turn pages at the same time. But they gave me a very short period of time that I'm allowed to speak. So I cut it down to an hour. So you'll be all right. Just cuddle together because it's kind of cold out there. Looking across this field, we see the scale of heroism and sacrifice. All who are buried here understood their duty. All stood to protect America. And all carried with them memories of a family that they hoped to keep safe by their sacrifice. This was a quote by George W. Bush at Arlington Cemetery in 2005, and truly has meaning here today, Washington Crossing Cemetery in 2021. I chose this quote to start off today because although this is in Arlington, the words held within the quote could not be any truer. Think of the last sentence, and all carried with them the memories of a family that they hoped to keep safe by their sacrifice. You, my friends, today are part of that family that they helped keep safe. Being here today is your way of showing them, yes, their sacrifice was worth it. As for me, I was 17 years old when I signed up for the military. Yes, to all you Marines, I had to get my parents' signature. I know what you're thinking. I've always had a sense of patriotism and all for the members of the military. In high school, I would always go on the field trips that went to Arlington whenever I was able to. I would see the fields of heroes and think someday I too could be there. Those that know me can attest that that feeling has not changed. Last year, as I sat here, well, it was around the same time, but the sun was out. And we did this virtually last year. I sat right over there. I was still shivering though, by the way. But we did it virtually, and it was important that it was still done. I sat there thinking about veterans, my career, honor guards, and in fact the cemetery. I personally started with military honor guards in 1984, my first assignment. That was in Lake and Heath, England. For those that don't remember or didn't know, we, the United States, led a bombing mission to Libya. I had the distinct pleasure of knowing that I helped build one of those bombs. What you might not know is that we lost an F-111 out of my unit. Lost the crew. That was my first ceremony in an honor guard. I never have forgotten that. Through the years, I have been to too many funerals to count. As I look around here, a lot of you were there with me. Sure, there is some ceremonies here at this cemetery that I attended that were very good friends of mine. But that service comes to mind every time, that one in Lake and Heath, England. It was my first. And when I was here last year with a mask on, sitting right over there, that's all I kept thinking about, that first one. And how many have come since. What always remains the same is the feeling of loss and celebration. The loss is because we as a nation lost another hero. The celebration is because we had the honor to have that hero willing to sacrifice his or her life for all of us. A debt that will never be forgotten. This cemetery and others like it are sacred ground, not only for us veterans, but for all of you. Not all that are here were killed in action, but we're willing to do so. All of us that ever took the oath understood that at any time we could also be asked to make that ultimate sacrifice, and we're willing to do it. And I'll almost bet you if you go to anybody that's a veteran here that's walking around would still do it. What some don't realize is that veterans are not the only ones here. There are also spouses of our departed that are lying here with their loved one. As a lifelong servant of the Department of Defense, I can certainly tell you, without my spouse and her continued support, I would have been lost. Is that my timer already? Yeah. That doesn't count on my time. And I would have been lost and could have been one of those stones out there. In my eyes, my wife and all spouses not only earn the right to be here, but have my equal respect and gratitude and deserve to also not be forgotten. Today is one of those days that we show our support and let all these heroes know that they are not forgotten. As I am honored to be part of this and will continue to lay wreaths as long as I can, I say to you all, this is simply not enough. We must continue these events and others like it, but must also continue to do more. Some people only come here for holidays. That's okay. But I challenge you to come here and walk around some cold day in February or a steamy hot day in August. I do this very often. I always pick a different section. Don't go to the same section every time. Always pick a different section. And read the names. And I guarantee you, your emotions will get to you, and you'll understand why we, as veterans, call this sacred ground. I must say this. Since the idea was started to have this cemetery came about, I always said, this is where I want to go when my time is up. If God grants me many more years, and I hope he does, and when I do pass, if it's full here, somebody please grab some of my ashes and bring them here. Because lay it to rest with my comrades, I will finally be at peace and finally be home. What I will say is, don't cry for any of us. We have made it to Valhalla and are happy. Laying down for eternity with our comrades is an honor for all of us. We will always be thankful for that. Those of you that know me, actually, I wrote this, I'm laughing at it. You'll understand why in a second. Because a lot of you are going to go, mm-hmm. So if you know me, I don't have a politically correct bone in my body. I know you're smiling. Okay. But I must say this. Michael Fitzpatrick, who's right over there, I know he is, started this idea of a cemetery in Bucks County and was a true leader to make it happen. I was proud to attend his funeral when he passed, and more proud that the line of veterans to come say thank you to him was huge and long. There was no R's, there was no D's, just complete respect for the gentleman. And they all walked up and said, thank you. Mike, thank you. Still. That's as political as I'm getting. Not too bad, right? Next, I want to thank Ed Preston for asking me to speak here today. But he called me on the phone. I was actually surprised what he was asking me because I thought he was just asking me to come and help. He called and asked me to speak, and I said, really? You sure? He said, yeah, absolutely. He has no idea what an honor that was for me. And still is. I added this part yesterday. So when I got home yesterday, after 2 days of helping unload the wreaths, I never had so much fun working in my life. So all the Marines now are saying, well, you're Air Force, you never worked really anyway. I did have some fun telling some Marines what to do yesterday. They didn't listen, but I did get to tell them what to do. For personal reasons, the holidays are not very happy for me. I also believe COVID has made us all unsocial and to some extent recluse. I had no idea how many true patriots are out there and really care about us veterans. Thank you to all of you that came out and helped ensure we in Bucks County keep our promise. Most importantly, my thank goes to all of you in attendance today. Now, as some of you have figured out, the plan was that we were going to have some more planting going on later. But you know what? Who cares? It's done. That's the important thing. It's done. And thank you to everybody that came out and helped make that happen. That's all the way down to the truck drivers that had to deliver these wreaths. They were so cooperative. I want to conclude with the following quote from my favorite general, George S. Patton. Of course, my favorite general, George S. Patton. Have you heard me yet? Of course that's my favorite general. Well, there was Storm and Norman too, but he was more my time. It is foolish and wrong to mourn the men who died. Rather, we should thank God that such men lived. Truer words have never been spoken. I want you all to have a fabulous day, and remember this. Don't be sad today while walking around and laying wreaths, because below every wreath you lay, there is a hero in front of you, smiling back at you. God bless you all. God bless America. Thank you.
Our next speaker is quite a Marine, James Curley. James grew up in the Mayfair section of Philadelphia and graduated from Father Judge High School in 1965. Jim played on the first city championship football team. After high school, he enlisted in the Marine Corps and served in Vietnam in 1967 with the 1st Battalion, 1st Marines, Marine Rifle Company, and participated in numerous combat operations, including the raid on Banan. Among the awards and ribbons, Jim is a recipient of the Combat Action Ribbon, and his unit was awarded the Presidential Unit of Citation. In 2013, he was elected to the Father Judge Hall of Fame. Fast forward now to 2018. Jim, along with Sean Sword, produced the documentary, Remember the 27 Crusaders. The story of 27 families from Judge who lost a son during the Vietnam War and the repercussions of their life and the impact on their community. A story every Gold family has experienced and knows too well. In 2021, Jim and Sean Sword produced a new documentary, this time the Edison 64. The story of 64 alumni killed in Vietnam from Edison High School in Philadelphia. Edison has the distinction of the largest loss of students in the United States Vietnam War. Today, he is a successful advisor to the owners of privately held companies. Please give a warm welcome to James Curley.
Good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me? Yeah. Let me know if you can't. Excuse me. I think, wouldn't you agree that a lot of times when you begin a speech, you hear like a quote or something like that, right? You agree with that? Okay. Okay. Do you agree? What's wrong with the microphone? Can you hear me now? Yes. All right. Trying not to get COVID on this microphone. All right. So, do you agree that most of the time when you hear a speech, sometimes they start with a quote and all that? You agree? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to do something a little bit different, okay? I'm going to repeat to you the oath that every veteran in this cemetery and every veteran that's alive today says as they go to serve our country. Wait, I gotta get my glasses on too. First of all, and I'm gonna move this along pretty quick, believe it or not, but do you solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic? Those words begin the words, the service of every veteran and everyone that's in these graves in this beautiful cemetery who's committed to serve our nation. Many of you here today are Gold Star families and veterans of wars and conflicts that have been all over the world, from Vietnam, Korea, and now Afghanistan and Iraq. Wynn's got my pages here. So, by the way, just a few months ago, we added 13 more mothers, Gold Star mothers, to that list in our country. The names on the headstones of these graves do not tell their story. Or any memorial you go to, they don't tell their story. Many perished in battle. Some died alone in a veteran's home. Some were on a street corner, frozen because of cold weather, or frozen because of drugs and overdose and alcoholism. Some died without a family who cared for them. And many did die peacefully in the arms of their loved ones. No matter how they died, it is here our sons and daughters are honored for all they have given to our nation. And that's why we're here today. They share history with many of the veterans of all wars. As I said before, let us say to each of their families and every family touched by their sacrifice, we are grateful for your sacrifice. And as Patton said, we are grateful they lived. Years ago, Vietnam veterans and even their families suffered as their sons fought in an unpopular war. Those families were often ignored. 55 years ago, we didn't have the Gold Star support that they had today. There was Gold Star mothers, but the support wasn't. Boy, the wind today. The Gold Star mothers. This is crazy, isn't it? So, but I'm getting there. I should have put it in a book. But many perished in battle, and as I said, no matter how they died. Woody Williams, who created these memorials here for the Gold Star families, he said he was always wondered why the loved ones of those who battled in the military service did not regularly receive public recognition. And that's where I'm kind of going with this message today. So take a minute. I want to take a minute just to tell you a short story, what inspired me to do the Judge 27. Years ago, as you just heard on that raid, the night before we were sitting there and we had that order, they told us what was going to happen. We were raiding an NBA base. And we knew, being young Marines, 19 years old, 175 of us, looking at each other, cleaning our rifles, saying prayers, writing letters, that many of us might not come home. What's that feel like? That's what a lot of these heroes that are laying in these graves went through. One brother, one Marine there, I was with. His name was Jimmy Cannington. He was from Dundalk, Maryland. Years later, I met his brother Al, and I said to Al, can you tell me what it's like when they brought your brother home? What was that ceremony like? We didn't know that because when somebody was killed or wounded, we put them on a medevac, and we never saw them again. We never heard about what happened. We never had closure for Vietnam veterans. That was always a lot of our problem coming home with PTSD and whatnot. And he told me the story. He said, Jim, I was 10 years old. It was a snowy day in January. It was January 14th. My mother was combing my hair, straightening my tie to go to Catholic school. And she opened the door, and there were two men there in uniform, and she knew immediately what it was. She fell to her knees, crying and screaming. I didn't know at 10 years old what was going on. I was scared. I ran out the door up and down the street, sliding in the snow. I fell in the street. They came out and grabbed me. I went in the house. My mom was still screaming and hollering. You see, that's what happens when they have that knock on the door that many of these Gold Star families and mothers went through. When you look at these graves or you look at the Vietnam Memorial, believe that that's what happened to them. So that stimulated and inspired what we did with the 27 with the movie that Sean Shorts and I put together. I don't know if any of you have seen it. It had 20,000 views, and we've had screenings all over the place. Just recently, we had them. So the Judge Memorial was created in 1978, and when I came home, I saw that nobody was telling these stories. You know, every time they were having these services, it was all they had, general this and such, but nobody was talking about the parents, the mothers, the fathers that suffered 55 years ago. So I decided we were going to tell their stories. Sean Shorts is an amazing director, extraordinarily talented, and he helped me do this. We went together, we were able to get 14 families to come forward to speak to us. And out of the 27, it took us 2 years to do this project. Filming the families, some of our crew had to actually stop. They broke down crying themselves. They couldn't go further. Winding it forward, we finally got it together. And some of the stories, I'll just give you one or two real quick ones. One was, one family could never again celebrate Christmas or Thanksgiving. Never. Another family couldn't do it either until their mother died. And these stories go on and on. Alcoholism, broken families, fist fights. And when we did this movie, we showed it to Father Judge. A lot of those families came up to us and said, thank you. Nobody talked to us about this, our pain, and helped us. And this film and this process, this catharsis we had, was unbelievable. So they told us by working with them, it helped. I'm trying to hold this microphone right, I guess I would have, so hang in there. So, wrapping it up here, there's only one thing we can do. I want to give my do. Anyhow, I'm going to wrap it up. The best thing we can do today for these families is just remember the pain they've gone through. And when you see the Gold Star mother, say thank you. Thank you. And whenever you see a veteran, thank you. Thank you. And their parents, when they're away, their parents suffer. Just quick, my mother had 2 nervous breakdowns when I was over there. And she died a year after I came home. She was this skinny. So every one of us paid a price. And I want to thank you all for being here. God bless you all, and God bless America. Sorry for the messy pages.
Thank you, James. Okay, we've had his Master Sergeant speak. We have James speaking about the productions of his movies. We are now, our next speaker is Gold Star wife of hero Heaven Kuhn, who was laid to rest right here in Section 33, Site 57. Devin was assigned to the 1st Platoon, Alpha Company, 2nd Battalion of the 75th Ranger Regiment at Joint Base Lewis McChord in Washington State. Both Devin and Brittany attended Archbishop Ryan Catholic High School, where they met and graduated in 2013. Devin joined the Army in 2015 at the age of 21 and served in the Support Operation Freedom Sentinel in 2016. Throughout Devin's military career, he was awarded and decorated with the National Defense Service Ribbon, Afghanistan's Campaign Ribbon, Global War on Terror Ribbon, Army Service Ribbon, and the NATO Ribbon. He earned the Parachutist Badge, the Expert Infantryman's Badge, his Ranger Tab, and the Combat Infantry Badge. On January 31st of 2018, Kevin Kuhn was killed in action in a tragic weapons training accident in Camp Raleigh in Oregon. This was 3 days after his 24th birthday, and 1 month after he was married to Brittany. After his death, Devin was recognized and awarded posthumously with the Army Commendation Medal and the Good Conduct Medal. Specialist David Kuhn, we honor you today, and with your help, please welcome Brittany Kuhn.
Thank you, Ed, and thank you for everyone being here today. I wanted to start off with my one of my favorite Christmas memories. In December of 2015, I was driving home from work one night. As Christmas was soon approaching, a song sung by Elvis Presley, "I'll Have a Blue Christmas Without You," popped on the radio in my car. I couldn't help but shed a tear as my boyfriend at the time, Devin, was just assigned to the 2nd Ranger Battalion in Washington State, which was completely across the country from me in Pennsylvania, where we both were from. I was honestly devastated at this, that he was going to be stationed so far from me, plus it being that this was our first Christmas away from each other. The next morning, I woke up to a surprising phone call from him, telling me to look out my window. As I looked out my bedroom window, confused and still half asleep, there I saw Devin, standing in my backyard, with the biggest smile I've ever seen, planted right on his face. Fast forward to December of 2017, I had the crazy privilege of planning and preparing for a wedding in 9 weeks. Devin and I were set to wed on December 30th, where we made the decision to marry on his next leave, that it just so happened to be around the holidays. What a special way to celebrate with family, friends, and each other that we were fortunate to experience. Little did I know then of the tragedy that lie ahead of Devon and the life-changing loss I was going to endure 1 month from our wedding anniversary. My devastation of distance turned into a traumatic loss following the hardship of grief in the blink of an eye. I was now given an honorable, yet no one could ever want title of receiving a Gold Star wife at the shy age of just 23. My involvement with Washington's Crossing Cemetery was soon introduced, and slowly my relationship with this cemetery grew into a place of peace where I could come here, lay a blanket down, and talk my frustrations of grief out. It was weird standing in front of a headstone instead of Devon, where the headstone next to his was a man who would have almost turned 100 when he died. Yet there is Devon's headstone that just shows he had just turned 24 before he passed. It was hard, and still very much is. I've watched many sunrises and sunsets here. All I can say is that this place is sacred. Those who are laid here come from many different walks of life, ages, and branches, yet they all have one thing in common. They have given this country a great duty by serving it. They've given us a reason for today, a special day, and how we come together as a community. Like them, a community consisting of all walks of life and ages that have something in common too. So every year, I organize an event in honor of Devon where we raise money to give back. Giving back to 2 organizations who have made an impact in my life, with one being Washington Crossing Wreaths for Veterans. The Wreath program not only impacts families with veteran family members who are laid here to rest, but also Gold Star families whose service member died while serving their country. The holidays can feel quite lonely and sad for members like me who are painfully reminded of the chronic loss of their special loved one, gone too soon during a time that is supposed to be merry and bright. That being said, the yearly tradition of holiday wreaths has created an honorable holiday remembrance for all those who are laid here, but also for their families who miss them dearly. This has given my family and I a greatly meaningful task to honor my husband Devon, where we find a way to do something special. It has given me a tradition of love and honor that I will carry throughout my life, and continuously remembering and living for Devon. The community of volunteers, groups, and families who come together is remarkably powerful. Rain, snow, or shine, everyone shows up, and we say their names out loud and proud. Throughout the past 4 years, I've come across a tremendous amount of people who have never even known Devon. People who have helped make a difference in my life towards supporting a meaningful tribute. All said and done, words can never truly express the pain, but words can also never truly express the love and appreciation I hold for what this wonderful organization has created and continues to carry out in remembering my loved one, along with other family and friends of those who lay here. Thank you.
Today we gather to honor those who have been laid to rest here, and to call a presentation of the 8 ceremonial wreaths, 8 by our local veterans. Bob Holler, USMC, Ryan Huff, U.S. Army, Jason Saunders, U.S. Army, Chuck Fasno, U.S. Army National Guard, Ray Bates, U.S. Army, Brandy Fortner, U.S. Marine. Present wreaths. present wreaths. Each wreath represents each branch of the armed services of the United States. Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, Coast Guard, and Space Force. The seventh wreath represents the Merchant Marines, and the eighth wreath represents the more than 81,600 POW MIAs of the wars fought throughout the United States history. Please let us have a moment of silence for all of those who rest here in every cemetery across the United States. It has been said that you die twice. Once when you draw your last breath, and again, your name is said for the last time. Today, we lay wreaths, remembrance wreaths here at Washington's Crossing National Cemetery to be sure these heroes are not forgotten. We ask that you follow the simple guidelines as you place these remembrance wreaths. We lay them in front of their headstone. We place the ribbon at the headstone. We say their name. We give them a moment of silence. At this point, color guard, retreat your colors.
Color guard. Attention. Carry. Colors. Ready. Cut. Counter march. March. Color guard. Halt. Forward. March. Color guard. Halt. Order. Colors. Color guard. Reception.
We will conclude our ceremony. We invite you now to place any wreaths that have not been placed. We thank you for your time. We thank you for coming out today. We thank our sponsors of other wreaths. We thank all the volunteers who have amassed today. We had over 3,000 volunteers register for this endeavor to recognize and honor our veterans. Thank you again from the Washington's Crossing Wreaths Committee. Have a good day.
Yes, yes.